We love your CD Homeland. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And
Yes.
it's so timely. Talk about the zeitgeist in Ireland
Yeah.
right now, particularly only an
Yeah.
expert.
Yeah.
It's really incredible, a little bit scary. But I
Yeah.
was wondering, have you been following what's going on over here in Ireland with regard to our
Um, not the last few weeks. Are there some new developments?
Oh no, the IMF coming in was a bit of a highlight.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. But of course, like that has very
So what's
special.
what's the mood?
What's the?
What's the mood there about that? All of that. How are people feeling about it?
Oh, very angry and very
Yeah.
disillusioned, and it's pretty desperate, really. I suppose people are going on, but I'm wondering what do you like in terms of an artist's role? Like, what do you think artist's role is in this kind of situation, or ever, I suppose, but
Well, as far as relating to the culture, and I think I I always feel that I mean generally my relationship to political and cultural situations like that is that I tend to be drawn into them more when there's a kind of conservative government, and when there's a liberal government, I do more like poetry. So right
yeah,
now we have, I don't know what we have. We have, for example, it was what I thought was a liberal moment, but it's not so much of a difference anymore because I think in a funny way uh, you realize that they're not in charge, that it's a corporate world now,
yeah,
and as much as you would like to have ideals about how to help people and how to make a structure that's more stable, it's it's the well it's the market that's driving it. One of the things that books that I found really fascinating is called Reality Capitalism. And the premise of this book, which is a British book, is that it's easier for people to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. You're like, whoa, that's
yeah,
really extreme. But I think that because of the, I mean, not that the alternatives to capitalism were so great, the the agony of you know Stalinist regimes and
mm,
communist regimes were not what we dreamed of when we thought of a more
mm,
um, generous world.
mm,
But now there's really no alternative.
mm,
This is the game,
mm,
and
mm.
and I feel it as it gets expressed in more and more things, um, music and theater and um, uh, literature. I just it's pretty heartbreaking. You watch things like libraries closing,
Desperate,
and you're
yeah,
going, "Wait a second, is this what you really want to do?" And then people are just kind of judging themselves on truly on what they have and spending and exhausting themselves beyond um, in trying to get those things
yes,
when they're really not making anybody happy.
yeah,
No, but I mean, I just one of my idols right now is a guy named Tom Hodgkinson.
mm-hmm.
He's a British writer, and he wrote a book called How to Be Idle,
I love it
IDLE,
already. Yeah,
and yeah, and it's fantastic. He said, who taught you that in order to be a good person you had to be working?
yeah,
Who told you that? And
mm,
then he kind of traces it through the sort of you know history of British industrialization, and then quotes a recent thing. It's a headline that goes, "Britain lost 500 million man hours to illness last year," and you're going, "Wait a second, when did we owe Britain 500 million man hours? How did
Mm.
this arithmetic get set
Yeah.
up?
Yeah. And the
You
value
owe that.
system.
You
Yeah.
don't owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
To
I
be
love
a
it.
good consumer, you're supposed to be a really good consumer and keep
Yeah.
just moving along. So it becomes an ethical situation rather than just and anyway, Tom Hodgkinson is also wrote a book about liberty, and it's
Mm.
very, very refreshing to read it because
Mm.
he gives you back your power. Because
Mm.
if you don't like the way things are, well, why don't you start a guild? Whatever that means and whatever you're doing. Are you making
Yeah.
shoes? Are you making music?
Yeah.
Start a guild,
Yeah. Yeah. We hope
Stop
that
using
we hope that's
mostly,
what Vulgo is about. Our
yeah,
new online culture magazine. We
yeah.
yeah, I mean we think that it could be good for Ireland if people go back to how things were before the Celtic Tiger, when people had time, for each other and for culture
That's right.
and
That's right. I mean, that's a wonderful positive thing about this. When things break down, it can be either you can choose to see it as a disaster, or you can choose to see it as an opportunity. And I think that the time I've spent in Ireland encourages me to realize that opportunism is a very popular way of looking at the
ah,
world.
that's a lovely way of putting it.
How could I make this into something, that is moving somewhere, rather than just sitting here and going, oh, I don't have that kind of car anymore. I don't have because, for example, when I've been in Iceland recently, I've seen something quite strange I've never seen before. People living in big houses and driving big cars who doesn't have enough money to eat. They can't even sell the cars. They can't sell the houses.
Mm.
It's this new kind of poor.
Mm.
And so you're either going to then drown in trying to keep up your mortgage or mortgage off the rest of your life and energy to keep this big house and car going, or you're going to go, this is a good moment to do another thing. Go risk, go another way, and see what you could do over there. I mean, for myself as an artist, I'm trying to move to small and portable, and I mean it's always been an effort of mine to keep it down and not kind of going, I need to make a major motion picture. It's like I just am very happy if I can describe something well. That makes me, that's it for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I don't need a big dance floor to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like it can be fun to work on a different scale, but it's how much of your life do you want to literally mortgage to do that?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
and in a way
I think
that's funny because that's you're talking about it's very low tech, and yet you are very adventurous with technology, which is amazing. But I'm wondering like how important in this world of technology, and we're on Skype right now, which is fantastic. But how important is live performance for you? Because yet you,
well, that's what I mean. It's very inconvenient to pack stuff up and put it into big crates and go somewhere. But um, I this is what I really enjoy about working is I like being with people, um, and real people in real places. Not just. I mean, Skype's okay. It's
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
But I don't have, for example, ambitions to do like teleconferencing performances at all. I
Yeah,
really don't.
yeah.
More and more, I want to use my hands. I want to make things, in a way that I used to really as kid, and move farther and farther away from this all the rectangles and make it. I mean, not the technology can't be really great. It can if it's cheap and small and you're not. ransoming your well-being to get it. If you are, then you're making a big mistake, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, it's nice stuff, but it's not worth um, exhausting yourself to get it. It's just more stuff, and obviously the pressure to get it, to get the new computer, the new car, the new whatever phone is enormous. It's enormous, and so I'm just hoping that there'll be a new kind of development to resist that, and to shift the focus to another way of being, because this is not really. First of all, it's not sustainable. It's not working that well. Just to get more and more stuff. This is, it's just the same way. You think, can I even do 3 more days of answering email like this? And I'm just frantically answering it. And when you look at what it actually is, it's just sort of idiotic. That artists, writers, painters, musicians start thinking, well, what's another way that we can do this without being part of the system? But here you are, a musician, or let's say a filmmaker, and you're by nature, if you're working with digital stuff, you're working with major corporations. For example, Apple. As a musician, I have to buy their stuff to make it. Then I have to buy their stuff again to mix it. Then I have to buy their stuff again to distribute it. How many times have I paid Apple to make my record?
Yeah.
They've got it used to go out in several different directions. A lot of different people would work on a lot of different things. Now, one, that's it. Is that the way you want to do it? Or maybe there's a way to do it within that context that makes more sense for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just about trying to think, okay, this isn't working. What does work? And then again, it's about having a little bit more sympathy for yourself too, and that's another thing. Back to my hero Tom Hodgkinson, he says, whatever happened to convalescence? You're just supposed to pop a pill and work through it, because whatever, your work to
you have to perform. Yeah.
Said, what happened to you get better, you feel good, and then you do what's called convalescing? We're those doctors who said you should take a few months, go to the south of France, don't do anything, don't even think.
Love
for
it.
3 months.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel better.
Yeah.
But no, we're just on this treadmill, and plus, not only are we in the treadmill of constantly engaging with this junk, but also it's very hard to get lost now. Just drop off the grid. And I spent my childhood and my young adulthood getting lost, wanting to get lost.
Really?
Yeah, just pop off the grid.
Yeah.
And that's really not possible anymore. Even if you're in Antarctica, it's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are we going to replace? Where will our sense of adventure come from? It's not from going to come from being better and better consumers, for sure.
Yeah.
Even though that's the pressure. If you buy those clothes, you're going to have more adventures. If you buy that car, life is going to start.
Yeah.
In 3D. It won't.
Yeah.
So
we're already 3D, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.